you want this to stay in or not?
15? Oh, yes.
I didn't know you said.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh because I'm in no position to laugh. Okay. Yes! Oh, dear.
Jesus.
Oh, dear.
Is that a nightmare? In this video, we are going to be asking 24 Championship fans for their brutally honest final predictions and for the very first time, watching their clips right now. Tom, are you excited? This is a concept that we're both aware of. We've done it before, but it's always exciting because you have no idea what these people are going to say.
No, we genuinely haven't watched any of these clips. Thank you for the call up. This is going to be a real pleasure. I believe we have some really fun ones in here. We have got some really fun ones. We've got some big names in this scene, which we're looking forward to having a look to see what they've got to say.
I think that Burnley are going to finish in third place. I think it could go any which way. Sheffield United, Sunderland, or Burnley could get second. But I don't know. I just have a weird feeling about it. I feel like if you're not going to score enough goals, you're not going to be able to sneak yourself into the automatics. But if it comes to the playoffs, a team that doesn't concede are always going to fare well. So Burnley in third, up through the playoffs. Come on.
Playoff winners. He's very smart. He is. You're very smart. Much smarter than us.
Third place for Burnley is Jacob's prediction.
I would have backed him for autos if I was a Burnley fan. I really would. I would have backed him.
It's between 4 teams, I think, for the top 2. Let's be honest. I think it's probably Sunderland, Burnley, Sheffield United and Leeds as those front runners. Jacob's gone third for Burnley, and he's right. The big talking point, the conversation around Burnley is the fact they don't concede many goals.
Yeah.
And actually, logically, he is right. I mean, if you look at a playoff campaign, we always say those games are tight anyway. How tight is it going to be when you're playing against a side that don't concede for the majority of a 46-game season anyway? Would you agree? Third? You said maybe you could push higher. I think it's going to be a fascinating end to the top 4 race or the top 2 race with 4 teams involved.
You do need to score at least 1 goal in a playoffs across 2 legs, which I'd really hope they do. So if they are going to be in the playoffs, got to get those shooting boots on. I'm surprised he hasn't backed them for top 2. I really am.
And if you do get Burnley in the playoffs, I don't want to be that team in the playoffs against
Absolutely
Burnley.
not.
No. Let's move on to the next clip.
Hello guys, it's Matt SB here. A massive thanks to Jack for having me on the channel today. Let's talk some Coventry City. Well, Coventry, a lot like Oxford United, have definitely benefited from a new manager bounce. Frank Lampard has done incredible since replacing Mark Robins, and that's despite injuries to Ben Sheaf, Mason Clark and Hadji Wright. We're in that mix, chasing for the playoffs, and I'm going to be bold and say we make it. 6th place for Coventry. Anywhere in the top 10 is pretty good, but let's say 6th place.
Can't argue with that. I don't think you can argue with it. They are the one team that are completely moving in the right direction right now. So 6th place is not a bad shout. If you think about not the doldrums, but the outside of the relegation zone position that Frank Lampard inherited, to even be having a conversation by the end of the season about playoffs, I think just smacks of the remarkability, if that's a word, the remarkable nature of the job that Frank's done.
Also, I should say as well that these clips were probably collected around 1 to 2 weeks ago. So I think that point from Matt is enhanced even further now because they are on fire. Yeah. They've only lost, I think, 1 game in the last 8. They've won the rest. That was against Leeds United, and we know how strong they've been this season. Other than that, to win every other game in that way. I mean, I watched them play yesterday. They were so good. And when I spoke to my dad, who was watching it with me, the gears this Coventry City side have got under Frank Lampard right now is a joke. They can deal with setbacks fantastically well.
An ability to find a new level in the playoffs is a real USP.
In terms of finding your form going into a playoff campaign, we know how important that is. I can't believe this season's gone so quickly. We're talking about the run-in now and how teams are going to fare in the playoff campaign, but that's where we are. And to say that a side that were really struggling under Mark Robins and now under Frank Lampard are going to hopefully find some success in the top 6, you never want to start, you only want to start finding your feet when you get to the business end of the campaign. That's where Coventry City find themselves right now. So fantastic work from Matt there. Fantastic work from Frank Lampard of Coventry City. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next clip.
Hi, alright everyone, my name's Jake from the Pure SCSU Vlogs channel. Obviously, as you can tell, I'm a Swansea fan. Cheers, Jack, mate, for having me on. Pleasure being on the channel.
Jack, mate.
Where do I think Swansea are going to finish this season then? So we've had a very poor start to the year. We've signed 3 players, 2 of them of which are loans, and one of them we've brought in and loaned back out to his current team. We've also obviously lost our club captain Matt Grimes to Championship rival Coventry. He's been at the club for 10 years, and there's also talk about a manager leaving as well. We haven't got a single win in 2025 so far, so it's not looking good. There's a bit of relegation worries, but I think we'll just about be fine. So I'm going to say Swansea will finish 18th this season. But yeah, cheers for having me on.
I think I actually feel sorry. I feel quite sorry for him. He seems like someone who is just absolutely fed up with what's going on. Now, this was recorded, I think, days before Luke Williams was sacked, and you got that right. He did say there was talk of a manager being sacked. He was sacked in the end. Of course, Matt Grimes, a key figure at that football club, did leave in the January too. They've had a bit of a resurgence slightly. There have been a few wins that have come. He said that they haven't won a game in 2025. That has now changed since the caretaker managers come in. But still, if you look at Swansea City and where they want to get to, the season is probably reflected pretty well in those facial expressions and that pretty doom and gloom feel surrounding the football club. He thinks they're going to be safe. I agree. I think they will be safe. But he looks a bit frustrated, and you would be.
I think he's right. I think you're right. I think they are going to be safe. I think the one thing with Swansea, I would say, is that there is enough there are enough poor sides below them for me not to be actually majorly concerned. You're right about the resurgence. Beating Blackburn recently at the time of recording is big. They have got a couple of wins since he filmed that. But, there is quite a big but, you are literally ripping the heart and soul out of a team when you lose your club captain and you lose your manager. I think maybe the manager was perhaps one that they maybe envisioned more than losing the club captain. And as he said, recruitment wasn't pretty. There's nothing to write home about really in terms of January either. So, yeah, I think they'll stay up. I think there's enough teams below them that are worse than them. But I still don't think it's a season that Swansea would have been expecting on the opening day.
Hello, Jack, mate. Thank you for having me on. Hope you're well. A prediction from Millwall from now to the end of the season. Now, listen, the last 7 seasons, I've all finished about mid-table for Millwall. And to be honest with you, I don't think it's going to change. If I'm going to give you a certain position, I think we'll finish about 12th. However, things are looking up under Alex Neil. We've had a very topsy-turvy, bipolar season in typical Millwall fashion. Went ages without a win. However, as and when I'm recording this, we've won our last 3 and we've had a really good transfer window. We've just broken our transfer record. Signed some very exciting players for the here and now and for the future. I just don't think we've got enough for a potential playoff push, and we're certainly not in any threat of relegation. So, for Millwall this season, I think about mid-table and hopefully, fingers crossed, an FA Cup run as well.
Well, that's interesting because as of recording this, they've just been knocked out of the FA Cup by Crystal Palace in that Derby Day fashion. It did have quite a few Derby Day features about it. A few bits and pieces that went on there. But the bottom line is, in their championship season, he did say, I like the way he described it as a bipolar type of season. I think that's quite a good way of putting it. He did say 12th too, and as of right now, they are currently sitting in 12th. I also agree. I think the transfer window was strong. They were very, very strong with that strategy. They did sell SA, ironically, to Crystal Palace, who did knock them out of the FA Cup. Lots of patterns here, but they also reinvested that money fantastically well into players that can help them in the short term and, importantly, the long term, because at Millwall, it seems to be traditionally the old school veteran type of players that are good for the here and now, but not so much thinking forward. That seems to have changed. I think a really strong prediction. I think a really fair assessment. Millwall, 12th. They're currently 12th.
I like Alex Neil. I like players like Japhet Tanganga. I think he's an absolute... I nearly said the words that I shouldn't say on a YouTube video there. I think you can probably all think about what I'm going to say. Something to do with bricks. A wall, a warrior, a man mountain, and everything that I think Millwall are all about. You're talking about a straight down the arrow mid-table season at the time of recording. 11 wins, 12 draws, 11 losses. Scored 34, conceded 34. Goal difference is 0. It's literally bang on down the middle, isn't it? And I think he's right. I think that's exactly what it's going to be come the end of the season. But not a bad season for Millwall. And I think, as you say, with some of the talents for the future, could be looking a lot further up in the next couple of years.
Hi Jack, Morgan from Norwich City fan podcast Beyond the Barclay here. Happy belated Valentine's Day to you and your listeners.
How long ago this was?
I think Norwich have really struggled to find a level of consistency this season, primarily because we've got a new head coach in, Hoftrup, and primarily because we're starting a fairly new project with a bunch of younger players that have come in from European leagues. So, as anyone knows, the Championship isn't an easy beast to tackle when you're not used to playing in the UK. We've really struggled to find a form of continued consistency. Winning 1-0 away against Watford and then stuttering against Derby and then losing at home to Preston recently has meant a few fans' patience is kind of thin already. Where do I think we'll finish? I would probably say tickling the playoffs, 9th, 8th, 7th, something like that. I don't think we've got enough. We've had enough consistency over the course of this season so far, and there's not that many games left to play for. So yeah, when things get going, Norwich are good and the football is fluid. But when we slow it down and we're trying to bait teams into making those spaces to make our forward play go through the transitions, so I think some teams have cottoned onto that a little bit. Anyway, I wish you all the best, and hopefully I'm wrong and Norwich will sneak into the playoffs. Who knows?
A nice in-depth review on Norwich.
I really like the framing of the shot where he's got like the hearts next to him. He's obviously thought a little bit about that. I also like the phrase tickling the playoffs. I've never heard that before. I think it tells you an awful lot about the situation at Norwich right now.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of... I like the point when he said as well, I did like the phrase tickling the playoffs. I also think he's right. When it's going well, you can't stop this Norwich
When
team.
Borges signs is bashing out goals left, right and centre in just one game. Yeah.
When they win, they seem to win well. They seem to win with a real sense of comfort. When they lose or draw, it's tight, it's frustrating, and there's a real frustration there from the fans. But he's right, and I like the fact they're fair. All the clips so far I think have been brilliant in the fact they've been fair. This is...
Picked out some good people to chat.
Yeah, and some really insightful stuff. There's growing pains. He's right. It's a new manager that's never managed in the Championship with a lot of European players that haven't played in this league before. And he did say this is not a nice beast to tackle. Mm-hmm. The Championship is not a nice lab to experiment in. It really isn't. It's a very, very difficult place to experiment and a very difficult place to grow. And Norwich are probably finding that. So I like that. He did say around the outside of the playoff positions between sort of 10th and 7th. They're currently 11th.
Which is basically predicting the outcome of the league table right now, aren't we?
Yeah, which is very, very tight. I think the message there is he doesn't think they're going to get in the top 6. And I would probably agree right now. I think there are teams that are slightly better or running slightly hotter.
Only 4 points?
Yes, I think there's just teams that are running slightly hotter right now.
It's congested. And you're right. There are teams in better form.
And that, at the end of the season, the business end is crucial. But a really, really great input there from Beyond the Barclay. Some fantastic insight on Norwich.
And I hope you had a fantastic Valentine's Day as well.
Hello Jack, James here from the Watford Way. This transfer window has been pretty abysmal from a Watford perspective. We have been playoff challengers for the start of the season, but after this window I can only see this season going one way, and that is a lower mid-table finish for Watford. 15th is my prediction.
15th?
15th. He's not happy. This was filmed after this must have been a few weeks after the window, but I actually think the position is about fair. They have picked up in the last few, actually, as of recording this. But I agree, the main points do stand the same. The transfer window was bad.
He's predicted his team to finish 10 points lower than they are now. Like, right?
This was obviously clearly fueled by a bad transfer window.
I think so. And that's quite often that is how it makes you feel, isn't it? Sorry, you were saying something.
No, it's true. No, it is true. I think because they'd in classic Watford poor ownership style, they'd been let down in the window. And actually, other than the last 3 games, there was a real drop-off. There was a time when Watford were in 6th spot. There was a time when they couldn't be beaten at home. They picked up some good points in the last couple of weeks. And again, we emphasise the point. Tom Cleverley's done a fantastic job. I'm surprised it wasn't mentioned in the clip, but they've got a manager that even beyond the adversity and all the struggles that are currently associated with Watford, the fact that they're still in the top half of the league table, I think is a phenomenal achievement. But once again, the point is the same. They're being poorly backed by their ownership. And imagine this Watford team with this manager, if they had been backed properly, I think they'd be high-flying still.
Can I just pick up on one point, which pertains to what you were saying about manager ownership, etc. The fact that there was a sort of semi-statement that came out before the Coventry game that was backed the man. I think it was the Coventry game that backed the manager for one game. I thought not necessary. Really, kind of, what does that say to the outside world looking in at Watford, and why on earth are you doing it? I think it just smacks of, I don't know, it's not the owners directly, whatever it was, social media teams, comms managers, whatever. Don't do that. Like, let's have less of that, please, because back him because he's doing a really good job.
First of all, thanks to Jack for asking me to get involved in this video. My prediction for the remainder of West Bromwich Albion's season is unfortunately I can see us falling just short in the race for the playoff places. Reasons for that being, well, I think Adam Armstrong will bring plenty of goals to this side. I think since Tony Mowbray's returned to the club outside of that outstanding performance against Portsmouth, I think it's been quite unconvincing, and Albion's away form this season hasn't been the greatest, yet we still have to go to quite a few teams the top half of the table away from home. We've also failed to win back-to-back games since September, so does the Albion squad have it in them to string together a series of good results in the pressure of teams chasing them from behind? I'm not too sure they have it in them to do that.
Great video there from Callum. Thank you, mate. And also, yeah, I think you're right. Interesting. They haven't won back-to-back games since September, which is a great point. And again, that's the beauty of speaking to fans that watch their team every week.
A lot of draws sandwiched in there for them, which is preventing that from happening. And actually, myself and yourself are probably bad people to ask about West Brom in terms of if we're trying to speak along the lines of what Callum's saying here, because we've both been there and been absolutely blown away by them.
Yeah, and our game was well, it wasn't 5. We didn't concede 5 though.
Thanks, mate. Yeah,
ours was just a 2. But no, we were beaten, pretty comfortably. I think West Brom they are. It is really weird. It doesn't feel like a side that are flying into the business end. They're sort of pottering there. A good point against Leeds, a convincing win against Oxford United, but then you probably got to be going to Millwall if you're seriously looking at the top 6 and trying to get more than just a point from that game. It's very stop-start. It feels a little bit inconsistent. They feel like they're just sort of limping their way to the final few games of the season. And when we look at Coventry, we spoke about earlier, they are flying into the final few weeks. And that could be the difference between a side that do well in the top 6 and a side that don't. They've got to finish in there too before that.
One more interesting thing to pick up on what Callum's saying is going to the big sides away from home. That Leeds point is a good point, I think. I think it's a really good point. They have still got to go to Burnley midweek in a couple of weeks' time. Keep your eyes out for that one.
Hello everyone, Wayne here from Honeyfield in the CFC. I really think it's going to be nip and tuck between now and the end of the season between us, Leeds, Sheffield United and Burnley. I'd love us for to finish in the automatics, but I just think with the amount of games left we've got to play, the top 3 have all strengthened well. I do think it will be playoffs for us. I'm going to predict we'll finish in 3rd place, but offered us that before the season had started and would have took your hand off.
Great point. I think I also agree. I know we're not meant to be necessarily to be reacting to these thoughts, but if we're going to agree or disagree, I think Sunderland probably are looking at a 3rd place finish. I don't see them getting into that top 2 right now. I think Leeds and Sheffield United have probably got that not on lock, but they are, I think, firm favourites over Burnley and Sunderland. Definitely Sunderland. Because, and the point's great as well about if you would ask them, would you take 3rd at the start of the season? Absolutely, they would have done. Because that just shows the growth of this team, the development of this Sunderland team, the fact that this season was about Reggie Brisk coming in for the first time and growing this young group. To take them into 3rd, if they do finish 3rd, and if not 4th, it probably will be one of those 2 places. I think it's a fantastic achievement. I think a really sensible prediction, and also Sunderland in the playoffs. I think that's really exciting.
He's actually got Only Fools and SAFC written on his hat, by the way. And I said this before we clicked on it, the production value is really high. So thank you very much, Wayne, for sending that in. I would also say as well, I think you're right. I think he's right. I think losing narrowly to Leeds at Ellen Road maybe gives you a little bit of an indication of where they are right now. But spot on with what you're saying. They've been flirting with the top end of this division consistently for a number of years now, and that's a really good position to be in.
Next up, we're going to be launching a clip from Tom, and not this one.
Why didn't you ask Hancock?
Because you weren't meant to be. You weren't really meant to be.
I wasn't meant to be here. No, I just wasn't. I just rocked up.
So we were going to initially do this with just me reacting to it, and I thought, let's make it a duo watching act. That does mean now you're going to have to watch yourself.
Which I hate doing, but let's go for it anyway.
Never thought you'd see me on this channel in the Pompey section of a Jack Ward Football Podcast video, did you? Where are Pompey going to finish this season? I think we're going to stay up, and I say that with one eye on the game this evening that I'm recording this video to you on, which by the time you see this will have already happened.
Yes.
Really crunch game at Brackley Park.
I didn't know you did that.
Under the lights
That's
against Cardiff, and if we can win that
world-class.
one, that sets us up for a really difficult 6 or 7
We
game
won that
run that
game,
we
by the
really
way.
need to be probably
Beat
winning
Cardiff.
4 games out of. I think there are 3 teams worse than Portsmouth right now in the Championship, and that's why I say it with chest and have been saying pretty much from the early days of this Championship season that I think we've got enough in us to do it. One thing I will say is that of all the bottom end sides at the bottom of the Championship this season, Pompey are the only ones who have stuck their manager from the beginning of the season. Now, in some cases, that has worked absolute wonders. If you look at the likes of Oxford United, it's going to be a difficult run. I think it is going to go right down to the wire, but I'm backing Portsmouth Football Club to remain a Championship club for at least another season. Enjoy the rest of the video. Leave a like if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to this beautiful man's channel, and I'll see you again very soon.
You just think it's your video. Bear in mind, I asked Tom for a 30-second clip. He gave me 1 minute.
I don't think you did ask me for those second clip.
Maybe it was. Well, I don't know what I asked you for.
Can I agree with myself?
Yeah,
I think
you can.
that backdates to Cardiff, which is 3 or 4 games ago now. But actually, what I'm saying there is still chiming true in my head. I don't know if you disagree with me or you agree with me.
I agree. I do. I think you've. You said it'll be out roughly with 12 games to go. It's about 11 games to go, and you are definitely still in that almost nice cushion. I think there is a sort of a cushion of sort of 8-7 points away from the bottom 3, and you're in there. So that's fine. Again, the relegation conversation we can go in detail with in another video, so we won't do it now. But I think Pompey are in a good spot. I think your transfer window was good. It's a shame that already you're looking at players that you recruited there that can't play for the rest of the season, but that seems to be classic Pompey transfer windows at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, a good run leading up to a frustrating defeat against Luton yesterday, but you sort of bought yourself an opportunity to lose, if you know what I mean. You bought yourself an opportunity to hit a frustrating patch, whereas before Pompey have won a game, lost a game, and then have a 1 in 7, and then finally won a game. So you bought yourself a nice run now. So I think you probably will be fine. Hopefully we both will be. But Pompey, as you said there, I think, you can agree with yourself. That's weird, isn't it? But you can.
Yes, guys, I'm Si.
He's done it as well.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you for letting me be a part of the video. I think Cardiff City will finish around 16th, 17th. I'm fairly confident that we'll be out at a relegation scrap come the end of the season. I felt that all along. I felt we had a decent window in the summer. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a divide between the fans, the squads, etc. Because various things. The manager left. Everybody is fully behind Omar Risa. The striker who didn't work out in the summer has left. We've signed a couple more. We've signed some really good young players in the window as well in January. So I'm very confident that we have a squad strong enough to stay up.
Si's right, they've got good players. Callum Robertson is a serial goal scorer for me, and obviously really like Alex Robertson as well, as you know. I mean, we were waxing lyrical last season about Alex Robertson. I also think Ruben Colwill is a real sort of USP of theirs. I think he's a sort of a profile that not a lot of clubs down there have. He's saying with his chest that he thinks they're going to stay up. They're obviously a little bit perhaps closer to it than Si would want, and maybe that's because time has gone on and results haven't quite fallen their way. They got Burnley at home next up at the time of recording. They've got to go to Sunderland after that. Crunch time for Cardiff.
Yeah, I think I'm probably not as confident. I think it might be a little bit tighter. They've got a big game against us and Stoke. If you look at the games that could be still quite defining, they're definitely still in there. The defining game recently that they did have a good result against was Hull City. They beat them 1-0, which I think was a fantastic result.
Big game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very tight. I think it's going to be very, very close. He says 16th, 17th. I think it could be more likely 19th, 18th if we're looking at a top-end positive finish.
They are 5 points clear at the time of recording.
So after having a good January transfer window, in my opinion, bringing in players that have championship experience and also a point to prove, I think Luton, once we get our first win, we will finish 18th in the championship. Wow. I do think our squad is better than the teams around us in the division. So hopefully, once we get that win, it kickstarts a good run of form.
They have now got that first win. So, according to him...
3 cheers.
Well, 3 cheers.
Maybe not for you.
Not for us. According to him, that is the moment that they then kick on. Perhaps it might be. Who are we to say it wouldn't? but I'm not massively convinced.
To finish in 18th, which is where he said, what is the current points?
There's a 7-point swing up to that point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be interesting. I think also this was probably filmed about 3 games ago.
There's a shout for staying up, but I'm not sure if it's going to be 18th. No, because they're only a couple of points away from safety.
But if he said to Lewis 22nd or 21st, I think he'd still take 21st anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think,
Let's get him back on and ask him.
Hello, I'm Sam. I'm a Plymouth Argyle fan, and I think our league position is going to be 22nd this season. It's to go down, but it's worth pointing out that just a few weeks ago when Miran Mudlic took over, we had those awful first few games under him. Nobody would have even given us a hope of staying up. He's made us fight for it. He has improved the form. I just think the squad is a bit too fragile, a bit too many injuries, and we did start from a bit of a points handicap when he came in after the wrong appointment of Wayne Rooney. So I think we'll go down, but I think it'll be a close run thing.
That's good. That's nice. I also think we both were trying to work out, is 22nd a relegation position?
Yeah, it is. It is. We've got one.
We have found one. We found a fan that will say they're going to get relegated, but
very
closer
honest.
than thought.
Very honest.
And yeah, I agree. It's a very good...
And they are making a fist of it.
They are. And I think that's what Plymouth would have wanted too. When they sacked Wayne Rooney and went a different direction, the bottom line was, I think it wasn't necessarily, can we stay up? It was more, can we just try and look like we are getting closer to staying up? And feel like we're going in some sort of direction. Feel like we're moving in a different way. Because at Wayne Rooney, with his... Can you talk? It was a tenure, not a great one. It was very, very downhill. You didn't quite know where it was going. But no, I think Sam's been very, very fair with that reflection.
I can't believe you got Sam's corner.
That's
amazing,
and he's been, I think, very fair too.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have found our first fan that's going to say their team's going to get relegated, but no one's going to say bottom yet. So there we go. Interesting. We've still got Derby to play. Let's see. 22nd for Plymouth. I don't think that is beyond the realms of possibility. I actually, although we were laughing about it, if Plymouth do stay up, that would be absolutely incredible in terms of an achievement.
That's a manager of the season contender, that one.
Hello everybody on the Jack Ward YouTube channel. It is a pleasure. I'm Ollie Ward. Are we long lost brothers? Who knows? I'm talking about my team, Leeds United, and where I think they're going to finish this season. I'm going to say... I hate to say it, but I think we're going to finish top of the league. I think Leeds United will win the championship. And as to why, I think it's, explainable right now. Leeds United are breaking records. We're doing better than we were last year. We're doing better than the season we went up before. I just think, as of right now, Leeds United are a cut above the rest. I think we've got the best squad in the league, also the best 11. We're winning games. We're not conceding a lot of goals. I hate to be arrogant, but I think Leeds United are going to win the league. Who knows? Hopefully I'm right.
I love that. He's so much charisma.
He's class. He's brilliant. I love him to bits. He's I think he's right.
Yeah, I do.
I probably wouldn't have said it with as much chest, but I think he's right.
Yeah, that was.
Who can
smart for the
yeah, it's great.
It was Leeds too.
Who can argue against him though?
No, I don't think it is arrogant. I think they are a cut above. I think they will pretty be frustrated they drew at home against West Brom yesterday, because at home this season they've been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it is only a 3-point swing, which is still quite tight between them and Sheffield United. But we watched them play in the last couple of weeks. They just found a way to win. And we know that is such an important trait to have when you're looking to win a league and looking to get promoted. It's about finding ways to pick up all 3 points instead of just 1 point. Couldn't do it yesterday, but so much of this season they have been able to do it. I think he's right. They are better than last season. I think they've lost some, they have lost some star players, but as a team, as a collective, they probably look a little bit better too. And that is just as important. So really, really pleased with Ollie's prediction that we have had someone say they're going to win the league. And like you said, you predicted it. You predicted not just Leeds were going to win the league, but also that Ollie was going to predict his team to win the league as well. Double prediction.
It's not bad, is it?
Hal here from the Sheffield United way. I really believe Sheffield United will finish second in the Championship this season. I predicted it at the start of the season, and realistically, can I go against my own prediction when I've seen nothing to dissuade me of that opinion? I like the squad. I love our manager. I believe. So I'm saying the Blades second in the Championship. Go on, you red and white Wizards.
He's good.
And
the Blades.
Do you agree?
Yes, I do. I've been I've harped on Jam on many an occasion about how good I think Sheffield United are, and I think it's between them and Leeds. Ollie Ward a minute ago saying how good Leeds' squad is and how they have the best 11. I think any Blades fans would perhaps maybe argue to the contrary, and rightfully so. I think it is between those two teams as to who have the best players in every position all over the pitch. A really, really crunch game at Bramall Lane that I think Chris Wilder will be kind of kicking himself as to how that one finished, and many Blades fans will too. Leeds with just a couple of moments of quality right in the dying embers, and an audacious finish, and then another really scrappy goal as well, but the other way round. That was a massive game. I think it was billed as the biggest game of the Championship season so far. It was just that. I think Sheffield United will pip them to the title. Sorry, I reckon Leeds United will pip them to the title, but could you imagine if Sheffield United hadn't had a couple of points taken off them?
People forget that too.
This was come right down to it.
There was a point deduction to still be in second place.
They miss out, even if they miss out on second place by 2 points, heaven forbid for them from their point of view. If they miss out on the title by 2 points or even 1 point, I think they'll be gutted.
Hi Jack, Ollie Haynes here from the Top 30 Club Substack. I hope you're well. Actually, I hope you're doing as well as Oxford United have been recently. It's been an incredible run under Gary Rowett, and the January window was really exactly what we needed. The squad looks so much healthier now than it did at the end of December. Where are we going to finish? What's my prediction? I mean, who knows? It's been such an insane run. It feels like we've had 2 seasons in one. I'll go with 12th. Why not? I mean, this run has to come to an end at some point. There will be a sticky patch. How will the squad respond to that? How will Rowett respond to that? I don't know. But if we can finish top half, I will thoroughly enjoy the ride. Thanks, mate. See you soon.
I'll help Ollie out by saying this was done before we lost 3 on the bounce or 2 on the bounce.
It's a classic example, isn't it, of we're waiting a little while to have the clips in. I assume so he talked about the sticky patch.
I think this was sent after Stoke or Bristol City. So we were unbeaten in like 10.
Right.
We then have lost the last 3. However, I think it's interesting because he did say that we will have a sticky patch. This is our sticky patch. I don't think we're going to finish in 12th.
And he then also said about how Gary Rowett and the team respond to it.
Which, again, the point stands. How will we respond to it? I think maybe slightly, this probably was 3 games, 4 games.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh because I'm in no position to laugh. But
we are 18. I mean, that's okay. But regardless of that, the point is correct. We are now looking at our sticky patch. How do we respond to that? He also does make a great point. And the Garrett did come in and make a fantastic impact. Although right now frustrations around the way that we're playing and the results we're getting is probably a topic of conversation. The bottom line is if we didn't have that run when he came in, we would probably be in the bottom 3.
Absolutely.
So that is important to mention.
Hi Jack, Jake from Ramsort Podcast here, and Derby's final league position I think is probably going to end up being one of the relegation spots. 22nd, 23rd, 24th. It's been a really poor run for the Rams, 7 defeats in a row in the league, and you just can't see where it's going to end. We've not really strengthened too much in January, so for me, if we keep Paul Warne around, I think Derby are destined for the drop. If Derby changed manager, I might change my mind, but with Paul Warne and the way that we play at the moment, I can't see anything else other than relegation. Thank you very much.
I doubt he's changed his mind.
No, Paul Warne has lost his job.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say the impact has necessarily been very good.
I'm going to do a whole bit on Derby in Jam, which is coming up soon, so please do watch that. But you've heard it from one of the horse's mouths there, and I said he was an honest man. He is very honest about their current situation. I think it's actually worse than 7 defeats in a row now, I believe. I know there was a draw in there somewhere. At the time of recording, Derby County are rock bottom of the Championship this season. That's precarious, and we have another... So we now have 2 teams to go down.
I feel quite
3.
bad. Like every time someone goes bottom 3, we have to look at each other and go,
yes!
It's like, we're not celebrating finishing at bottom 3.
Absolutely not.
We're just celebrating the fact that we've done this. I think I've done this video for 3 years. You've done this video. I don't think we've ever had someone. I could be wrong, but I can't remember a time when someone's ever said.
It's unprecedented. That's why we're so pleased.
It's just, like, get in there.
Yeah.
Predict your team to fail.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing.
Not something to celebrate. But it's just nice when it all comes together. That's what you're saying.
Let's move on.
Hiya Jack, hope you're all okay mate. Thank you very much for having me on this video. Now you've asked me briefly for my predictions on the rest of Stoke City season, my team season, or what remains of it now. And to be honest, it's been a very underwhelming one for the Potters this time round. Once again, actually, we're on our third management of the season. I think that speaks volumes, to be honest. Stoke have been stuck in such a mid-table mediocrity, probably since our relegation from the Premier League in 2018. We've struggled to install any kind of consistency, not only in performances, but in results as well. And I don't mean that just in this season. I mean that for the past 6-7 campaigns round for the Potters. But look, we're on our third manager of the season now, under the management of Mark Robins, and fingers crossed he can turn things round. Someone needs to. And look, we can kick on a little bit. The main thing for me now, I don't think Stoke can push for anything other than maybe a top half finish, and even that will be a little bit of a push, but it would be nice to see. We haven't done that since our relegation from the Premier League all those years ago, finishing the top half of the Championship. And let's install a bit of confidence, not only in the players and the club, but in the fan base as well, because it is quite low at the moment. We want to see something a little bit more exciting than either just scraping past the relegation battle or finishing bang on mid-table. So look, let's try and push up a little bit. If you want a specific prediction, I'll go for 13th. I know it's not quite top half, but I'm being realistic, and I'd take that. It'd be our highest finish since our relegation in 2018 and since we've been in the Championship, and I think that will be a little bit of an improvement, and again would give the fans some confidence maybe to go into the 25-26 Championship campaign with a bit more belief. But yeah, thank you very much once again, Jack, for having me on, and fingers crossed Stoke's fortunes can change in the future.
He's good. So if you'd have told me coming away from the Bet365 when they absolutely humdinged us 6-1 that they would be anywhere near the drop zone still, I really thought that was a moment. Narcis Pelac had just come in at the time. I think it was his third game, his first win. And I thought, right, they'll fly up the league and they'll make a fist of it. They haven't, and for whatever reason, they've stuck down with us at the bottom. I think he's really honest there. I think something I would say is that when Stoke then came to Fratton Park, they looked a shadow of the side that we saw at the start of the season. And I know you take 4 goals out of that game in Tom Cannon and send them up to Sheffield at Bramall Lane, where he's playing his football now. I think they'll have enough to survive. They're currently 5 points above the drop zone. I'm not sure if 13th is that close to being achievable in terms of his prediction.
No, probably not. I think it's probably slightly unrealistic.
They may well finish higher than they are now.
I think Stoke will stay up. I don't see whether Stoke get relegated. I know they are 19th and they are still in that conversation mathematically. I just don't see Mark Robins sending them down. I think there maybe hasn't been as much of an impact since he came in, but he's not someone that I don't think will relegate aside. He's a safe pair of hands, and it's about getting to the end of the season with a bit of stability, get to the summer.
Thoughts on 3 managers in a season?
Concern. I think if you have 3 managers a season, there's something drastically gone wrong. Yeah. And at Stoke to be 19th, and again, sort of playing the motions and playing through those type of motions in a pretty stagnant way. That's probably a fair reflection. But I think Sam's been pretty fair in his prediction, though, to be honest.
Hi Jack, mate. I think Sheffield Wednesday are going to finish roughly about where we are. I don't think we've got enough quality to get into that top 6 area. I just think we had an opportunity, we didn't strengthen. We play like a mid-table team. We draw a lot of games, and that's why I think we'll be mid-table this season. But I'm happy with that considering where we were last season. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Interesting. Mid-table. So I think
where they are now,
and that is absolutely pretty spot on. I think they've got a fantastic manager. I think they've got a manager that's done a fantastic job with the players that he's got, with the ownership that he's dealing with. There was talk of a late push into the top 6. I don't think that's the case now. I've read something on social media. They're really struggling against the top 6 teams. That seems to be a real concern.
Back-to-back defeats to Burnley and Sunderland of late, which I don't think there's an awful lot of shame in.
But if you want to get there, though, you've got to start maybe picking up those points against your.
Given where they are, given where those teams are, I don't think there's a lot of shame in it. But if you want to be mixing with those kind of teams, you're right, you need to be in that game a bit more. I don't actually think the 4-0 defeat is a 4-0 scoreline. It is, but it isn't. You know what I'm saying? Everything that Burnley touched that night went to goal in the second half in particular. So
yeah, I think they're
middle of the road,
and that's what Bungface said. So fair prediction for Sheffield Wednesday. Just need to have a better. Need to change your owner, and then you've got a squad and a manager there that could do some real damage. But 13th again for them, I think, is a strong prediction. Folk face.
I think I predicted Bristol City to finish 8th at the start of the season, and I think there's enough within this group of players and this manager to stay in that position and finish there at the end of the season. You know, being in a playoff race at the moment is exciting and all of the good things that come from that. But I think compared to teams, well, particularly ahead of us, I think it's going to be difficult for Bristol City to surpass Middlesbrough, West Brom in particular, to go and get that final 2 playoff places. So yeah, that's why I think Bristol City will probably finish 8th at the end of the season.
Obviously, Annie can't predict the future, but they have just beaten Middlesbrough in their last game at the time of recording, which I think is absolutely massive, particularly in that situation. And George Earthy coming off the bench and providing the definition of the goods. For whatever reason, fixture-wise, they do have a game in hand on pretty much everyone above them, bar Burnley, at this moment in time. I know it's only games in hand, and I know it's sort of intangible points, but win that game, Jack, they're right back in the mix.
They are. Yeah, I think he maybe slightly underplayed it slightly. I think Bristol City are feeling a little bit different about their season compared to others. They've always been sort of hovering and not really going for it. Potentially this season could be the season. They're well and truly in the mix, and if you said to them, come the last 10 games, 11 games, be there, they are there. They would have taken that.
Hello, mate. Hope you're well. Thanks for asking me. Let me tell you what you've been going through, isn't it? Okay, let's talk about QPR. QPR are a rising phoenix, and I'm excited about what we can do. Certainly compared to how I felt about my club when we played Oxford United, it was probably one of the worst first halves of football I've ever seen. But from that moment, we've brought some players back in. The recruitment, which people were incredibly worried about, seems to be much better than we thought. And some of the loan signings that we brought in as well is seeing a sort of new era that I'm actually really, really excited about. So I think if everything goes well, I was looking at the table there, I still think you've got bigger teams that you would expect to do better than us. And I think that makes life difficult for us. So for me, I think trying to be as positive as possible, obviously dreaming of getting close in the last few games to the playoffs. Realistically, I think the highest I could see us finishing, if I'm totally honest, is 9th. I think 9th's as good as it gets, but when we were bottom and it looking pretty scary for a minute, I think it gives us a squad and a connection with the manager that I think is incredible. So it feels like next season would hopefully be a season that we could try and make a little push.
Fair. Lives in a nice area, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. The birds are tweeting as
It's
well.
obviously an early morning stroll. I think it's probably one of the single best jobs that a manager has done in the Championship this season is Martí Cifuentes. And not even just doing it this season. He's done it again because he did it last year as well. We were the team to send them rock bottom back in the leafy afternoon in West London in October, mid to late October. And since then, the resurgence has been nothing other than absolutely superb and remarkable. So I completely get what he's saying there. And I think if they were to get anywhere near 9th, which I think is achievable, considering where they were, that'd be one mighty effort.
It would be. Yeah, we always forget the QPR were bottom of the table as well.
Absolutely.
I think everybody's sort of been so used to seeing them in the middle of the park and having a good, 3-month, 4-month
All those
period.
teams they've usurped in the last however long.
They did a great job. And I think he's right. I think anything higher than 9th, of course, we always dream of being that team that could go on that late run or being 3 points going into the last 3 games of the season. I don't think that's realistic. But to be 14th, maximum 9th or 10th, we're looking at James's prediction, you definitely take that. Great work from Marty, great work from QPR, and I think a pretty fair prediction and reflection from James.
Yes, Jack, lad. Thanks for getting me involved in this video. So, you want to know about, I think my club, Middlesbrough FC, will finish end of the season. I think we're a bit inconsistent, so I'll go with just sneaking into the top 6. Finish 6th, will win the playoffs. Borough have never ever won at Wembley. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Of course, I'll always say Middlesbrough's going to win the playoffs. But listen, it's a long old season and then playoffs are an absolute lottery. We'll see what happens though. Up the Borough.
Love that. We're a proper fan.
Proper fan. And also, You learn something new every day. I didn't know that Middlesbrough never won a game at Wembley. So there we go.
So don't go to Wembley.
So if you do get there, Borough fans, you'll all be saying that to each other as you walk down Wembley Way, I'm sure. Another honest prediction. I think there was a point in the season, Jack, where I would have been absolutely amazed if anyone said anything other than Middlesbrough would finish in the playoffs. I thought probably too early days to tell a full sort of picture, but they look like the team that was probably one of the most nailed on to have a playoff spot come the end of the season.
Yeah, there's a top two race.
It was, absolutely, at one point.
And they've all, it's all got a bit wrong, hasn't it? But no, I think 6th is probably still on the card. It definitely is. The last 2 results are positive. They won their last 2. They had a really bad run. And he is right. It's inconsistent. They are very, very topsy-turvy.
There's some full Middlesbrough chat coming up on Jam as well, which we're going to take a bit more of a deep dive into. But thank you, AJT, for sharing your thoughts.
6th, I think they take that now.
Oh, absolutely. I think they would.
Dirk from Blackburn Rovers sees loving everything Blackburn Rovers related. Unfortunately, I think Blackburn Rovers are going to fall off the pace here in those race for the playoffs, ultimately ending up around about 12th. I think our transfer window was a little bit underwhelming, despite bringing in a handful of players. I just think the quality in and around us will be too great, and Rovers are going to fall short, despite having a really good season under John Eustace. Hopefully step the building blocks for the future under JE for next season. But right here, right now.
Oh dear.
Around about 10th, 11th,
I'm so sorry.
Maybe even 12th.
Yeah.
Dirk.
Oh, this is awkward, isn't it?
Oh no.
This is awkward. He doesn't know, does he? He has no idea.
He didn't. It's amazing how you can just look back and oh wow.
He doesn't know. John Eustace, I think days after this was filmed, left for Derby County. However, I think he was still slightly harsh for this prediction. He said 12th, I think, and they're 7th right now.
They drop off.
I think their last couple of games have been a bit iffy.
They've been winning games with no manager, and Ishmael's in now, isn't he?
Yes. I think they're still
good
in
appointment.
That he is. I think he knows the Championship well. He's had a promotion from League One to the Championship. Quite a few. It was Barnsley, wasn't it? Quite a while ago now. But he still knows the English division to a good level. He's played and managed here. I think I think generally quite a harsh prediction still.